Right, we'd like to welcome you to the PSAC Perry's webinar, PSAC 101. The purpose of this webinar is to provide you with answers to basic questions about navigating your union. We want you to be well informed about how your union can help you in your workplace and how you can participate in your union. Throughout this webinar, though this webinar is geared toward newer members, we hope that stewards will also find this information useful when speaking with new members. At the end of this webinar, we will tell you how you can stay connected and get the latest information about your union. At this point, we're going to start with introductions. My name is Lindsay Sparks. I am a regional representative, newly planted into the Calgary regional office. I come from the Winnipeg regional office, and I'm very happy to be working in the Calgary regional office. Dolly?
Thanks, Lindsay. I'm Dolly Ablett. I'm the regional rep that works with Lindsay. Newly planted, a great term for a new Albertan to be planted into Alberta. I've worked in the regional office for the past 7 years or so, and I'm excited about this webinar tonight. Tom?
Yeah, hi, good evening. My name's Tom Karsgaard. I'm the administrative assistant in the Calgary office. Have been for about 1.5 years, almost 2 years now. If you call the office, you're likely to get a hold of me, and I'm happy to help. So thank you for the opportunity tonight.
Thank you, Tom and Dolly. Joining us tonight is Marianne Haldoon. She's the Regional Executive Vice President for the Prairie Region, and we're going to ask her to say a few words to open up the event tonight.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Lindsay. I'm not sure what the members are seeing. It is very dark. It looks like it's very dark in my house. It looks like it's green, and no, I'm not in Saskatchewan. I don't want to hear any rider jokes. Go Riders, go green. And I know the video is a bit choppy. So I just want to say thank you to all of you who have logged in tonight. I know some names I recognize from after week. And I also want to thank the staff because, we started doing these webinars as health and safety, but because all of the staff are educators, we recognize that we don't have that connection with members at this time until the office is open. And so, we're looking at new ways to do things. And we know that there's a lot of new members who never had a chance to come in to the office to a Talking Union Basics course. And so it's a condensed version. The one thing I will say for anyone who is new, there are no stupid questions. That was my introduction to the union when a leader told me that. If you have a question, chances are somebody else wants to know the answer. So really, this is your opportunity to ask all of those questions that you didn't know who to ask. And both Lindsay and Dolly have been reps for a long time. That wasn't an age thing, by the way. I'm probably older, but very experienced, seasoned, and we'll be able to answer a lot of the questions. So thank you all. I'll be sticking around if there's questions for me later. Absolutely available, and maybe by then my video will be actually in real time. Thanks, everyone.
Dolly?
Okay, and since this webinar is being offered by the Calgary Regional Office, we're going to take this opportunity to acknowledge that the traditional territories of the Calgary Regional Office area are with Tree 7. The Blackfoot, well, I can't say that, Niitsitapi, and the people of Tree 7 region in southern Alberta, which includes the Siksika, the Kainai, and the Tsuut'ina. It also includes the Stoney Nakoda First Nations, which includes the Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Wesley First Nations. The city of Calgary is also home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3. The Public Service Alliance of Canada is dedicated to ensuring that the spirit of reconciliation in all treaties are honored and respected. PSAC respects the treaties that were made on these territories and acknowledges the harms and mistakes of the past, and dedicates to move forward in partnership with Indigenous communities in the spirit of reconciliation and collaboration. I also want to say that we're really pleased to have had many members attend our webinars over the past, and not only from our region, but from across Canada as well. And I want to welcome everyone again who's been here before and attended, and all the new people as well. Across the prairies, the response to our webinars, like Marianne said, has been really overwhelming, and we're quite excited about that. We've had people from Alberta and Saskatchewan and Manitoba, but also people from all across Canada. So right now we'd like to do a quick poll just to see where everybody is from. What you're going to see is the poll will come up, and when you see where it is, it'll say Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, or Canada. You can click where it represents where you're calling in from, and we'll see what the outcome of the poll is. So the poll should be in front of you now.
Okay, we're going to close the poll in about 10 seconds.
Okay. You see what comes out. See who we have. Okay. Wow. So we've got about over half of us are from Alberta. Welcome to all the Albertans. I'm glad to see that Calgary was able to get and Edmonton able to get their Albertans out to our first webinar. That's fantastic. And just a small margin of people from outside of the prairies. So welcome everybody to our webinar. We're going to be talking tonight about, currently my voice isn't back there, so I'm going to try and move that a bit closer on my earphone. And one of the things that we're going to do is review what we're going to be looking at tonight. And you can see that there's quite a list of information there about what we're going to talk about. We have a lot of ground to cover. Our objective with the webinar is to assist you as a new member in learning more about the PSAC and where you can access our services and get in touch with the union. In addition to that, you're going to learn about some of our victories, the advantages of belonging to a union, and what your dues are providing for you in terms of membership benefits. One of the key things for any union member is learning how to navigate the union and finding out where you can go to get help when you need it, where you can go to get training, how you can become educated in union information, union matters, and to have your voice heard in the union and be part of the democratic process. So we're also going to be doing various polls throughout the evening. We'll have a total of 3 more polls, just to see where people are at with things so that we can have a little bit of interaction. And then at the end of it all, we're going to have a period where you can ask questions of the panelists and the organizers and have some of your questions answered. So I will hand it over to Lindsay now.
Thanks, Dolly. At this point, what we're going to do is we're going to watch a short video. And some of you may have seen this video before. It's a very good welcoming video for our members. Please note that since the video was created, though, as of today's date, we have over 188,000 members, and we're still growing. Also note that we have had 2 components merged, leaving us with 15 instead of the 17 that they mentioned in the video. So enjoy the video.
Welcome to the Public Service Alliance of Canada. We are one of Canada's largest unions, representing and supporting over 170,000 workers across the country. From the most experienced to those who may not be familiar with the union. We do this by negotiating fair wages, benefits, and working conditions for you, and protecting these under law through collective agreements. We are a large union, but the foundation of everything we do is your local. That's what we call the group of union members in your workplace. There are PSAC locals in all kinds of workplaces across Canada. Government departments, museums, universities, airports, Aboriginal communities, and so many more. We even represent workers in Canadian embassies around the world. Locals are supported by PSAC's 17 component unions, PSAC headquarters in Ottawa, and regional offices located in 7 regions. So if you ever feel that you're being treated unfairly, that your work is unsafe, or that your employer is violating the terms of your contract, know that we've got you covered. Your local representatives, elected by you, are there to support you. And if they can't help you solve the problem, you can count on the expertise and resources of the PSAC and its 17 component unions to help you. PSAC is very active and devoted to the well-being and advancement of its members. Together, we have achieved some incredible gains on behalf of our members, like strong sick leave provisions, paid parental leave, equal pay, protections for workers with disabilities, and accommodation for family obligations. We also work hard to protect the public services that all Canadians depend on. But none of these accomplishments would be possible without the dedication of PSAC members. All of our officers are elected by and from the membership at national and regional conventions. From local representatives to our national leadership, they all started out as someone who wanted to find out more about our union, just like you. Learn more about your union and how to get involved by talking to one of your local representatives or get in touch with a PSAC office near you. They're all there for you.
I always enjoy watching that video. All right, we're going to continue on with the webinar. Again, welcome and thank you for being here. We're going to start off by telling you this is important, that the union is made up of members, and that's what makes our union so strong. PSAC members in the prairies are employed in large and small communities throughout the provinces. Our members are federal, provincial, and municipal public sector employees, as well as workers from the academic and scientific communities. We are tax experts, compensation advisors, fishery officers, border services workers, food inspectors, park wardens, Service Canada agents, school officials, 911 operators, firefighters, and search and rescue maintainers. And if that's not enough, our members also include First Nations educators, teaching assistants, Indigenous police service members, commissionaires, transition home workers, and the list goes on. In fact, here in Alberta, we even represent cowboys at the Bar U Ranch. And thanks to that diversity, we have been able to build a strong union that has the expertise to service its members, no matter where they are employed. Dolly?
Thanks, Lindsay. You want to pull up the slideshow? I don't think I can't see it on my screen. There we go. That's it. Thanks, Lynn. Okay, I'm gonna try this again, and if I'm not coming through clearly, I'm gonna turn off my video because it's not seeming to want to do video and the sound as clearly with so many people online. But what I want to talk about is welcome. What is the union advantage? And as you can see, there's quite a list of benefits of belonging to the union. We hear a lot of things about the myths of unionization. Don't get drawn into that. We hear things like they're not relevant anymore, or they protect lazy workers, or they're run by union bosses. I'm sure a lot of you have heard those kind of things before. I know that there's a substantial amount of research that's been done academically and literature that points out the benefits of belonging to the union and how unionization is also a benefit to the employer and to the economy. Unions are associated with higher productivity. There's lower turnover of employees, improved workplaces, and a better trained workforce when you work in a unionized environment. In addition, according to Statistics Canada, as you can see there on the screen, the average non-unionized worker makes $24.15 an hour, but the unionized worker, on average, makes $29.40 an hour. And that's just in an hourly wage. That doesn't reflect other benefits and entitlements that are negotiated because you belong to a union and are part of a collective agreement. However, when you take that amount and the difference in the yearly salary over the course of your entire career, the difference is staggering. It really makes a whole lot of difference to the quality of living that individuals will have. Even when you factor in union dues, which on average are about 1.85% of a worker's wage, the benefits of belonging in a unionized environment pay for themselves. Let's not forget, dues are also tax deductible, so at the end of the day, you have that benefit of having the tax deduction. When you factor in health benefits, leave, and pension plans that workers enjoy, you're taken care of clear through until your retirement and beyond. Lindsay?
Thanks, Dolly. All right, what we're going to do right now, we're going to talk about locals. Before we go to the full PSAC structure, we'll start with the most important part of the PSAC. As I just said, it's you and your local. You and your local. See how I got personal there? All members belong to a local. Locals are grouped by worksite, employer, or sometimes work function. There are two types of locals. Locals that are part of a component and serviced by that component in Ottawa, and locals that do not belong to a component, known as directly chartered locals. Unlike locals attached to components, directly chartered locals provide their own administration and services to members, either independently or in conjunction with the PSAC regional offices in their area. We have directly chartered locals at Casino Regina, the Universities of Winnipeg, Brandon, and Saskatoon, and the Center for Aboriginal and Human Resources Development. Though they are classified differently, overall they perform the same function within the PSAC. Locals form the foundation of the PSAC. The local is where members connect with the union. It is where you go for help. The local supports union members by providing information, guidance, representation, and the support that they need. The local is where members also set local dues, pass budgets, change, and or update their bylaws, and set the direction of your local for the coming year. Once a year at the annual general meeting, or AGM as you might hear sometimes around your office, the members of the local elect their representatives, the local executive. Some locals also elect stewards at the AGM and others just appoint them. The union stewards and local executive officers are the main contacts for members at the local level. Dolly?
Thanks, Lindsay. So here comes one of the hardest parts of understanding your union, and that's the PSAC structure. Now, I'm not going to make any promises here that you're going to understand the structure right off, because it is a complex structure. And that's simply because it's subject to how the membership wishes to see the union function. And over the years, we've developed into what you see today. So part of understanding the union begins at the local level and where you fit in at the local level and how that helps you understand other parts of the local. Your local will be made up of an executive and stewards. And for the most part, those executive and stewards work together to take care of your needs as a member at the local level. However, the local is connected. They're connected to, in some cases, what's called a component. Now, as you've seen in the video, we have 15 components. Those components are mostly headquartered in Ottawa, 12 of them being there, and 3 components are headquartered in the 3 territories in the north. They work together. So I'll give you an example first of a component. For instance, the Department of National Defence employees across the country are represented by the Union of National Defence Employees, or the UNDE component. And although that logic remains for the most part across our federal government departments, it's not always the case anymore. Given ongoing employer reorganization that has resulted in contracting out and different employees coming into positions that aren't necessarily directly employed by the federal government anymore, the PSAC undertook an extensive organizing campaign and program and has followed those members and also searched out new members to come and join in with us at the PSAC. So we now have members who are under federal jurisdiction, provincial jurisdiction, as well as territorial or under the Canada Labour Code. Components will, the component will provide the locals with support in terms of their labor relations officers and their elected body, usually regional vice presidents, providing support to the local executives that they're responsible for in the area that they're assigned. That support is mostly in administrative and workplace day-to-day issues that come up with the employer. Those could result in grievances, or they may be result in an informal resolution process, and representing members in the workplace, assisting them to do that on committees, etc. Each component has its own unique structure, its own bylaws, and those are decided every 3 years at their own component triennial conventions. Their bylaws must also fall in line with the PSAC Constitution. Then we have what's called a directly chartered local. They're similar to a local, except they don't belong to a component. They can range in size from a few hundred members to a couple thousand or more. And a directly chartered local provides the same support to the members that they're responsible for at the local level as the component will. The only difference is that a directly chartered local is assigned to a regional office. And the regional office that they're assigned to provides them with the same support in regards to labor relations as the component would provide their stewards or their higher elected officers in terms of advice. Some examples in our region of directly chartered locals are the Casino Regina, the Center for Aboriginal Human Resource Development, the University of Saskatoon, and the University of Winnipeg. So that's one layer where representation and day-to-day business is taken care of in terms of labor relations. We also have 7 regions across the country. Those regions start out in the east. Well, we could start in the west, but we'll start with the east, which is the Atlantic, Quebec National Capital Region, Ontario, the Prairies, BC, and the North. Just to name a few responsibilities of the regions support the members through providing education, conferences, committees, regional specific campaigns of things that are happening in their communities that the PSAC and the committees that we have, as you see on the right-hand side, there are area councils, human rights committees, women's committees. We often will have specific campaigns related to things that are happening maybe provincially, for example. And those campaigns are delivered out into the communities by the members that live and work in that community. We also have region-specific negotiations, and that's where we might have a regional bargaining unit. And for instance, a regional bargaining unit that we would have in this region could be, for instance, ACPA, which is Moose Jaw CFB, and they are responsible, they're part of UNDE, but they have a separate collective agreement that's under the Canada Labour Code. So that's an example of a regional bargaining unit. Regions will hold their conventions, which governs what the members in the prairies want, what their desires are. They put forward resolutions, and those conventions happen triennially, every 3 years. And we'll get Marianne to talk about at the end a little bit maybe about, I know people may have questions about what's happening with our conventions. As you may have saw on the website that they are going to be delayed by a year. So if there's any clarity around that, we'll get Marianne to talk about it. The convention will set a regional budget and change and update their bylaws as long as they're in line with the PSAC Constitution. The PSAC regional structure has its own bylaws and constitution and elected representatives. The council brings activists together from different components, directly chartered locals, to network and share information and identify issues in the region, among other duties. The council representatives are elected every 3 years from the membership within each region. Any one of you that are on the call tonight could happen to run for a position at the next convention, and you would end up, if you're successful, you'd end up as part of the council. The REVP, Regional Executive Vice President, is Marianne, who opened up for us and said a few words. And she holds the highest democratically elected position of the union in the Prairie region. She's part of the PSAC Regional Council and actually is the chair of that council. She provides advice, guidance, financial support to the region, and the REVP is the only paid full-time elected position on the council. The REVP also sits on what's called the PSAC's governing body, known as the National Board of Directors. On the National Board of Directors and the Alliance Executive Committee, the REVP is your voice at that national level. So anything that's happening in the prairies, she brings forward on your behalf and is your voice to express concerns or accolades, whatever it may be, for the members that are in the prairies. The National PSAC office, headquartered in Ottawa, 233 Gilmore, that's where the national president and the national executive vice president work. Now, our national president right now is Chris Aylward, and our national executive vice president is Megan Picard. The national president and vice president are members of the Alliance Executive Committee as well, along with the 7 regional executive vice presidents. So this team, together as the AEC, work to ensure that the day-to-day operations of servicing and representing the members is taken care of. They're responsible for financial decisions of the union, overseeing campaigns, mobilizing members, defending members, preserving the rights of the union and its members in the workplace. And they meet on a formal basis once a month, but every single day they're working for you. The AEC is part of the National Board of Directors. They also, which then you add in the component presidents. So with those 15 component presidents that I mentioned, all of them sit together and they meet 3 times a year. And the job of those, the National Board of Directors, which that group is known as, is to govern the union in between conventions on matters that affect all of the components and the regions. So they work together as a team to represent you and your interests as a worker in between conventions, given the guidance that they've received during the previous convention in the form of resolutions and decisions that were made and passed. Much of the work that goes on at the national office is behind the scenes. We don't see it happening on a day-to-day basis, but it is really critical to the work that we do to preserve our rights as workers in this country. The PSAC National Office provides support for PSAC members with initiatives through finance and administration services, national negotiations, representation, arbitration and adjudication, political action, lobbying, and of course, my favorite, regional offices branch, providing campaigns and education. Make sure you sign up for a course after this. The national office or the national convention is held every 3 years, and the PSAC then elects the national president and the national executive vice president. They set the dues rate for the next 3 years, the priorities through resolutions, they pass a budget, and they change and update any constitutional amendments that are passed by a 2/3 majority of the membership. They set the direction of the union for the upcoming 3 years. So having said that, what I'd like to do now is I'd like to take a poll of the audience again. And what I'd like to ask you, if we could move to the poll, Lindsay. How long have you been a PSAC member? Have you been a PSAC member less than 6 months, 6 months to 1 year, 1 to 3 years, or greater than 3 years? Let's see who our audience is today. And we'll just give it a minute or so here. Lindsay, whenever you think it's been enough time, and you can see them coming in, that would be great.
Yeah, it's kind of neat watching all these graphs go up and down. Give it a couple more, another minute or so, and then we'll close the poll. Well, say 15, 20 seconds or so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're ready to close here.
Okay. Okay, so Wow, so we have a lot of folks on who have been around for more than 3 years, and that's great. It's never too late to learn about your union and get information. But we do have a significant amount of folks that are less than 3 years, and some brand new people too. So welcome. It's good to see a good mix of membership on the call. And we're also hoping that after you've taken this, it's being recorded, that if you like the information that you received, that you'll share it with another new member or a few new members perhaps, so that they can also get the information easily and quickly. I just want to say that the PSAC works hard for its members at any given time. In the background and in the foreground, there are a variety of campaigns, education conferences. That's a picture of me. They actually, did that one up, and Lindsay said, "Oh my goodness, that looks just like Dolly." So at any given time, there's campaigns, education conferences, negotiations, grievance hearings, and a multitude of other activities that challenge our members on a day-to-day basis. And throughout all of regional offices, we're always here for you to assist you and either help you directly or direct you to the person who's in the position best to help you. So do not hesitate to contact us at any time. And I'm going to turn it over to Lindsay to give you a brief overview of what your union does do for you.
Thanks, Dolly. What does my union do for me, you may wonder? We negotiate strong contracts. The PSAC has more than 230 bargaining units, each with their own collective agreement. At any given time during the year, chances are the PSAC is negotiating with someone somewhere in this country. We look for improvements to pensions, dental plans, vacations, sick leave, job security, and a host of other items. Contract demands come from members like you. We support members on and off the job. We're leaders when it comes to negotiating supportive leave provisions such as parental leave, flexible work arrangements, and paid maternity leave. And we have Supreme Court of Canada wins to prove it. Your collective agreement is a legal document. It protects you in your workplace, outlines your rights and responsibilities, and lays out rules for working conditions, while also defining roles and responsibilities of your employer. Your agreement is a prime example of what members have fought for and won over the many, many years. And we enforce what we negotiate. Our local elected officers and staff members work with local, regional, and national management to address problems in the workplace at the many different levels. Whether it's disciplinary hearings you're called into, a meeting with management to clarify policies, or filing a grievance on your behalf when you feel your rights in the workplace have been violated, the PSAC is there to assist you. Your local has shop stewards who will work side by side with you throughout the process and follow your case through to the end. If there is no satisfactory resolution, your component will also assist your shop steward to work towards a fair outcome. When the situation warrants, the union also provides legal advice when required and has represented its members at arbitration or adjudication in hearings in the federal court system and has won landmark decision in the Supreme Court of Canada. By the way, many of those victories will have a lasting effect for generations to come. Whether the PSAC has a strong interest in protecting the occupational health and safety of its members, striving towards World Health Organization standards defined as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being. We establish and maintain effective union health and safety committees at the local, regional, and national levels. This also includes providing health and safety training to our members and having staff health and safety experts available to our members in each of our regions. When it comes to health and safety, the PSAC pays attention. We partner with municipalities, provinces, and other stakeholders to stand up for strong public services across Canada. The ability to partner with other entities results in making our union that much stronger. We commission independent reports that demonstrate the negative economic consequences of cutting government programs and services. In addition to making our views public, we regularly use this data in our negotiations with the employer to build a stronger case for our members that we represent. Using our website, email, social media, traditional print publications, and the news media, We work to keep our members informed and to promote our members and this work they do with the public. We advocate for you with elected officials. We meet and correspond with politicians and their staff, make submissions and appear before parliamentary committees to let them know how legislation is affecting our members. We arrange for discounts on health, home and car insurance, credit cards, hotel and travel, but we'll talk about that a little later. Dolly? Oh, I'm unable to hear you, Dolly.
Sorry about that, Lindsay.
That's
I
okay.
think we're on the next slide too, slide 15. Thanks. So what does your union do for you? Well, one of the cornerstone things that we do is education out here in the regions. A large portion of PSAC funds are dedicated to our education budget so that our members regularly receive the opportunity to expand their knowledge in a wide variety of subjects. This includes courses and workshops which are developed for your personal and union skills. They're going to provide you confidence and give you the ability to learn to look at things differently and the ability to represent members should you decide that you want to get involved in the union as a steward, as an executive member, or as a future leader. PSAC courses vary in length. Some of them are quick. We do them as lunch and learns. We come into the workplace and do what half an hour or 45-minute session. And at other times, we'll do 3-hour sessions in the evening. We also have 1, 2, and 3-day courses. We also have advanced training and union leadership training as well. At the regional and at the national level, we also offer online courses. There's no charge for any of these courses. The PSAC covers all the costs for you, and members can take advantage of PSAC education just by signing up to take a course. What we cover is reimbursement of any lost wages for attending during work time, covering travel expenses if needed. If the course, for instance, it's in one of the regional offices and you need to travel from outside of that area, we cover those expenses, including staying in the hotel if you need a place to stay. We also offer a family care allowance for members to help alleviate barriers and costs associated with leaving your children at home. For more information about PSAC education, you can check with your local steward or your regional office, or you can visit our website at www.psacprairies.com/education. You can see as well that there is a union advantage. This is one of the documents or a little card that we insert in the information kit that we give to new members, and it outlines 10 of the top historical gains that we've made for members. And as you can see, from sick leave provisions to benefits to the recognition of same-sex spouses, we've done a lot to forward our interests as a union and society and improve things for everyone. We've had a 54-year span of being in existence, and we started in 1966, and here we are. We're still here today representing workers. We didn't stop there. We continue to make gains for members, both in the workplace and when required. If we have to, we'll go to the legal system. Lindsay?
Thanks, Dolly. As we mentioned earlier, the PSAC continues to fight and win many victories for our members. Many of those wins have had a profound effect, not just in the unionized workplace, but in the non-unionized workplace as well. This following video will give you an idea of victories won by the PSAC over the past 54 years. And be sure that in addition to what you are hearing in this video, there will be many more to come.
For nearly half a century, the Public Service Alliance of Canada has stood tall for the protection and advancement of its members. From the early days of collective bargaining to ongoing defense of workers' rights, PSAC members have worked side by side to ensure we're all entitled to a fair and safe workplace. We've been nurturing labor standards since the 1960s, growing precedents for equality and worker protection laws that have raised the bar for millions of Canadians. We didn't just do it for us, we did it for everyone. We were one of the first unions to negotiate paid maternity leave, launching a decades-long effort that brought about the parental benefits nearly all Canadian workers enjoy today. We were the first union to get benefits for same-sex couples recognized in collective agreements, paving the way for equal treatment, a decade before the legal recognition of same-sex marriage in Canada. We won the right for our disabled members to receive life insurance coverage and continue to fight for the rights of people with disabilities. And the PSAC triumphed in a 15-year battle with the Government of Canada, correcting pay equity issues for 50,000 federal clerks, ultimately resulting in retroactive pay awarded to 320,000 workers. These were gains for all Canadians, and we score victories for our members every day. Job security, work-life balance, retirement security, and fair wages. The PSAC works tirelessly to keep you healthy and happy in your job, and to defend equal rights and public services for all. There is always a storm to be weathered. Anti-labor forces want to erode our basic rights. Public services, paid sick leave, childcare, and even health and safety standards. Rooted in nearly 5 decades of solidarity, the PSAC will always rise to meet these challenges, whatever the winds may bring. The PSAC represents more than 170,000 workers across Canada and around the world. Are you one of them? Get involved with your local. The PSAC and you. We get there together.
Okay, Dolly. We're
Okay,
just
welcome back, everybody. I had to unmute myself. Is there a difference in the sound of my voice now?
It does seem much
Can you
better.
hear me? Is it better?
It
I just
seems
wanted
much
to
better.
check. Okay, I just like I took a risk and went to that audio button and just did some adjustments. So I'm hoping that that can improve the quality of what you're hearing. And we didn't have a problem with it earlier, but I just want to make sure that you're going to be able to hear me. So advantages of full membership. We're still talking about those advantages. And as you can see here, there's 2 types of members. There's a RAND member and a full member. And so with a RAND member is someone who's in the bargaining unit, and it's as the result of a decision by Justice Rand. That's why they're referred to as RAND members, which said, Justice Rand, after a bitter labor dispute, said, anyone who benefits from a collective agreement must pay the dues, and therefore they're a member of the bargaining unit. However, they don't have to be a member of the union. That part is voluntary. And to be a full member of the union and have full union advantage, you need to sign a membership card. And so we refer to members as full members and RAND members. So full members card sign, RAND member no card sign. And the majority of our membership consists of full membership, people who have signed a card and are entitled to full participation within the union. And once you've signed that card, you're entitled to a number of benefits of the union, which include the basic things that everybody thinks about, which is representation. You're able to participate fully in the union by holding office, by voting, by expressing any opinions or concerns that you have at local meetings. You're able to vote on tentative agreements or business that affects you at your local level at local meetings. You're also eligible then as well to put your name forward to attend conferences and conventions as a delegate. And also participate on local, regional, and national union committees. So being a full member really does have a lot of advantages, and having that voice and vote makes a big difference. If you have not signed a card and you're a RAND member, RAND members are unable to, so here's the card that you have to sign in order to become a member. And if you haven't signed that card, you're known as a RAND. You're not able to fully participate in the union, and you're not able to enjoy the things a full member does. So for instance, you can't hold office, you can't attend union meetings, you have no vote or voice on any decisions being made in the union, and you can't go to conferences or conventions, and you cannot vote on tentative collective agreements. So as you can see, there are certainly an advantage to being a full member, because then you have a say in what's happening with your union dues and what's happening with the direction of your union in terms of collective bargaining and a lot of other very important issues. So signing that card is really important. And I know that there's a lot of frustration out there sometimes with getting the cards processed, but you need to make sure, and one of the key things is making sure that you have your correct information on the card, that both sides of the card is filled out, that you have signed and dated your card. Make sure that you sign it, because it can't be processed without your signature. And if you could point out where the local or component is, the component and local on the second part of the card, all of that needs to be filled out. If we don't know what local it's coming from, then we don't know what local to put you into, and then you may not turn up on your members' local list. So having every area of the card filled out is extremely important. And if you're not sure, you can call us, and we may call you if we get a card that happens to not have all of the information on it, just to make sure that we have that. And Lindsay, do you want to do the poll, or would you like me to introduce it?
I would love to do the poll. All
Okay.
right. Often we ask members what they really like about being a member of the union, and we get all sorts of different answers all the time. So we're going to do another poll right now, and it basically is, what is your favorite thing about being a union member? So we'll give you a little bit time to look at the options: leave provisions, job security, health and safety, resolution of workplace problems, or collective bargaining. And here come the answers. And I'll give you about 15 more seconds. Okay, I think oh, no, still coming in. Interesting. All right, well, let's take a look and see what members have said.
I'm excited.
Yes, collective bargaining seems to be a big deal. Job security and leave provisions. And health and safety and resolution of workplace problems are tied. So there we go. I love doing this. All right, we're going to continue on.
And I think right now, I was just going to make a comment on collective bargaining, Lindsay. I think it's really front and center right now, because a lot of our bargaining units are still in the middle of collective bargaining and have been out without a contract for some time. So I can see why collective bargaining is the things that is front and foremost in people's minds, for sure.
Absolutely. We're going to continue on, and we're going to go to the next slide. And we're going to talk about another really popular topic, and that's union dues. Now, the RAND formula provides a form of union security. Hey, there, you can even see me now. The RAND formula provides a form of union security whereby an employer automatically deducts a portion of the salary of each employee within a bargaining unit. This portion goes to the union as union dues. The formula is based on the principle that all members have equal access to the collective agreement benefits and should contribute equally as well. All dues rates are democratically decided by members and can be either a percentage of your salary or a flat rate. The amount submitted on your behalf is distributed to 3 sources. A percentage of the total dues goes to the PSAC, another percentage goes to the locals, which have components, Another amount, which may be a percentage or a flat rate, goes directly to your local. With PSAC and component percentages, the rates are voted on every 3 years at the respective triennial conventions, voted on by the members. At the local level, local dues amounts are determined by local members at annual general meetings. Directly chartered locals do not have a component and are serviced by the regional offices nearest to them. Rather than pay component percentages with no component, directly chartered locals pay a service agreement abatement, which is determined in the individual service agreements for that particular local. The rate of the agreement abatement is calculated using the weighted average of component dues. Before we begin to calculate our dues, you need to know the percentages. Though the PSAC percentage remains the same for everyone under the PSAC umbrella, every component charges a different amount, as do locals, based on their needs. And though directly chartered locals pay the same abatement amount, which takes the place of a component percentage, individual directly chartered locals can decide how much they wish to charge members by a membership vote. This chart shows the current percentages charged by components. The directly chartered local abatement percentage is 0.6232%. The reason why we're showing this is only because we don't expect you to memorize or any of that. It's just so you should know. And then don't forget that this webinar will also be made as a handout to you as well. Now, here's one of the most popular questions that we get. How are my dues calculated? I've had to explain this many, many times, and I've done it over the phone, and it's very hard, but we have what we have here is a good explanation to help you figure out your dues. Percentage rates are applied against the first step salary of the classification and are not applied against overtime, bonuses, or retro pay. Part-time members may pay prorated dues based on the hours worked. However, the flat rates are not prorated. To begin the process of collecting dues, the PSAC receives information from your employer monthly regarding your classification and hours of work. This helps the PSAC to determine the amount of dues that you pay. Explaining how these dues are calculated continues the PSAC's commitment to being transparent to its members. So we're going to give you an overview of how they're calculated. I've explained this, as I mentioned before, over and over again without visual aids. Hopefully with this help of this visual aid coming up, you'll be able to understand it a little easier. If it's still confusing, don't worry. After we explain the mechanics, we'll do an actual calculation on the next slide to show you how it's done using an actual salary. Again, I mentioned this information is also available on the PSAC website. First of all, let's start. The PSAC percentage rate right now is 0.9557%. Components and locals. So you add the PSAC percent to your component percent. Multiply your salary by the component and PSAC combined percentages. Divide by 12, as in 12 months. And then you add $1 per month for the PSAC strike fund. Add your local amount, and which goes back to your local, and that equals your current dues. For directly chartered locals, it's a little bit different where you add the PSAC percent to the standard directly chartered abatement rate. You multiply your salary by your PSAC and DCL, directly chartered local rates combined, divide by 12, add your $1 per month, which is for the strike fund, by the way, and you add your local amount, and that gives you your current dues. Now, I hope I haven't confused you, but we're going to do an actual calculation. But in order to make this work well, I'm going to ask that when we go through the calculation, that you don't read forward. Don't read the entire thing because it's going to confuse you. But if you do it step by step, hopefully it's going to be a little easier for you to understand. So let's go to our example. So we're going to take a PM3 who works for the Union of National Employees. Now, the PSAC rate, as I mentioned before, is 0.9557%. The component rate is 0.5956%. So what do? We add those two together. So 0.9557 plus 0.5956 equals 1.5513. So that's the combined rate of the component and the PSAC percentages. So the PM3 first step was 58,281. So we multiplied that by the 1.5513, and we get a $904.11 in yearly dues. Now we divide that by 12, again, 12 months, and that equals $75.34 a month. And let's not forget our $1 per month for, strike fund. So your dues are $76.34. And then we have to add your local rate on. Now, some locals, they charge, $2, $4, different rates that they have. Some have a percentage. So you have to add that, whatever your local charges, you add that to your $76.34, and that gives you your monthly dues. If you're not sure how much your local charges, then contact your local steward and they'll tell you how much your local charges for the dues. Now, we collect the dues from you, but what do we do with them? You're probably wondering, what? Here's just a brief chart of what we do with your dues, and it gives you an idea of how your dues are allocated. Education, negotiations, conventions, and other activities. The PSAC is also very fully transparent and also provides financial statements on its website for any member to review if they so wish. It's that transparency thing there. Dolly?
Thanks, Lindsay. So, problems in the workplace. You have rights in your workplace, and your union protects those rights. And it's important that if you encounter problems, that you come to your union to help protect your rights as well. If your rights have been violated, or you believe that a provision of your collective agreement isn't being followed, or that a policy isn't being broken, and for instance, you're in a situation where you're being harassed at work, it's important that you speak to your local steward about those problems so that you can figure out what your recourse is and how to deal with them appropriately in the workplace. You do have options. One option is informal resolution. There may be opportunities through informal resolution where you're able to get together and solve the conflict outside of the grievance process with your steward and the manager and anyone else involved, if that's the case that somebody else is involved, and then the problem is fixed. Your union steward will accompany you and has the right to accompany you to assist you and support you during any kind of processes like this. If that doesn't work out, you could file a grievance. And again, it's your local steward that you would be working with in order to file a grievance of a violation of the collective agreement. The grievance procedure is laid out in all of our collective agreements on what you need to do, and your steward will have received training and guidance, or at the very minimum support from their RVP in order to help assist you in filing a grievance. The process allows you to raise the issue directly with your manager so that it can bring the issue to the forefront and you can resolve that issue. And that's what the grievance procedure is for, is to fix problems in the workplace before they become a big problem. You and your union representative may need to gather additional information and supporting documents during that grievance procedure, but it's your steward's job to assist you in bringing that all together so that you can present your case. Sometimes things can't get resolved at the level with that manager and you have to bump it up to another level. Some of our collective agreements have one level, level 1, level 2, and then level 3. And then the issue will go to arbitration if it's unresolved, and other collective agreements only have a 2-part process. Either way, it's important that you work with the steward in getting your issues resolved. So what you do then is, say you get to that final level and the employer is still not listening to reason or wanting to resolve that workplace issue, it would be referred to adjudication. And what that means simply is that that grievance goes with all of the documentation that the steward and you have collected as a member to PSAC, and it's referred. The PSAC grievance and adjudication officer take a look at the grievance, they analyze the case, and they determine if the case can be taken forward to arbitration to an independent third party who will look at the collective agreement and make a decision as a neutral third party on the issue of the case. So they'll either say the grievance was upheld and make an award for the member, or they'll say the grievance was partially upheld or the grievance was denied, depending. Once they're accepted, they go on to a list and grievances are heard in order of priority, with the highest priority being given to those related to suspension or dismissal. The PSAC represents members during that adjudication process, and at that point in time, you would be working, if you had the case where you had something go to adjudication, you'd be working with the grievance and adjudication officer to prepare your case in front of the adjudicator. All the information that the steward gathers, or all the information that you have, is vitally important, because there is a time lapse between when you have a problem is finally resolved through the grievance process. So it's important to keep documents, to keep a journal, to track what's going on with the workplace problem, so that you don't lose track of that stuff and then a couple of years later have to find a document. So where do you go for help? Well, the lifeblood of our labor movement, like I said, is the stewards. Stewards are the union on the shop floor. Member representatives in the workplace have a very important formal role to play in the workplace. They help to link the rank and file member, like you, in with the union. And while they're there, they're defending the collective agreement, they're upholding it, they're making sure that it's not being violated, or that your rights in the workplace are not being violated. They'll provide you with guidance and assistance and navigate you through your concerns. They work to engage and inspire members to take action and to be part of collective resolutions. If they feel that their rights have been violated, they want you to also join in with other members to ensure that those rights aren't trodden upon by the employer. Steward capacity of the union to problem solve by using the grievance process. And sometimes, you know, we have to take boots to the ground and take action and show the employer how unhappy we are by doing things collectively. Stewards also have additional help in the form of a large network of other stewards. So they're not alone. They have each other to rely on. And quite often, locals will have a chief steward with a network that they work with. And those stewards. So it becomes a great big network where everybody supports and ensures that the rights of the collective agreement and of you in the workplace are upheld. You can find your steward by contacting your regional or your local executive. Quite often, stewards' names will be posted on union bulletin boards throughout your workplace. And if you can't find their name there, but you see an executive listing, sometimes executives also act as stewards and play kind of a double duty. So you can contact them. And if you can't find that, you can always call your regional office, and we have the local executive listings at our fingertips, and we can let you know who you need to contact. Where do you go for help in the regional office? Well, in the regional offices, we have 5 regional offices across the prairies, and those are in Winnipeg, Saskatoon, Regina, Edmonton, and Calgary. And you can call any one of these regional offices and get answers to any of the questions that you might have about how to get help or different types of information at any time. And we've been working throughout the COVID pandemic. We're working from home, but we're still here on a day-to-day basis to answer your questions and provide you with any kind of services that we are allowed to within the confines of the rules around the pandemic. Lindsay?
Thanks, Dolly. All right, let's talk about where you get information from. There is a lot of information out there, and it's yours for the taking. The PSAC and its components have great information that is more specific to your work department. You can reach the PSAC website by going to psacunion.ca, and this is what the front page or the page that you're going to get will look like. If you want to find information about your components, again, you can go to psacunion.ca, and there'll be like a little drop down. All these are drop down boxes, and you just click on there and you look for your component and you click on your component. And again, that will give you information more related to your specific work site and your component. What about prairies? Well, we're not behind the game either. We got a website here in the prairies. If you click on, if you go to PSAC, oops, there we go, prairies.psac.com, you'll find the PSAC Prairies website. And just to mention, by the way, the next couple of upcoming webinars coming up, we have one on on May the 26th, that's Tuesday, and that's Asian Heritage Month celebration in Canada. And we also have the next webinar next week, which is very, 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 very good timing, returning to work following the pandemic. And that's coming up next weekend. And if you haven't registered already, please feel free to register. For updates, if you want updates, you go to the PSAC website. Again, it's PSAC Union. And if you just go to .ca/mailing list, you'll see this. And you can put your first name, your last name, your postal code, and your email address, and let us know if you're a member or not. You click on subscribe, and boom. You're going to start getting all sorts of information from the PSAC. We don't spam you. We send you important information. So make sure you understand that part. And not to be outdone, the PSAC also has other ways to stay informed and connected. We are also visible on Facebook. You can visit the PSAC Facebook page or follow the PSAC on Twitter for what are often up-to-the-minute updates. And you can reach them through any search engine. Dolly?
Thanks, Lindsay. And to top that off, we also have Prairie Region Facebook and Twitter. So if you specific to the prairies, you can go to the Prairies Region website and sign in there and see what's going on. Or you don't have to sign in, but just take a look at that and see what's going on. PSAC or prairiespsac.com/updates. And in addition, the Prairies Region also has a Facebook and Twitter account. Previously mentioned on the Prairies website, we have our own dedicated Facebook page. You'll see a lot of our member activities there, pictures of things that members are doing, what they're involved in, whether it's a women's committee, a human rights committee, an area council, if we're lobbying for childcare, if we have petitions that we're signing in terms of where we live provincially. Any kind of activities that we're doing are highlighted on the Facebook pages and also on Twitter. And these can be accessed through a search engine, or you can also, I think, click on a link in the website to go and sign up to be part of those or join those pages. Or you can follow us on Twitter. Additional benefits of being a PSAC member. Well, this is what I call the bonus section, and this is stuff that's negotiated by PSAC on your behalf outside of the collective agreement directly with providers of different services. So for instance, a couple of examples are we have a MasterCard program, we have a life insurance plan, and one of the most exciting things or really beneficial things, not exciting to have life insurance and then have to use it, but in the event, every member is entitled to free life insurance, and there's a card that you simply fill out and you send in, and you'll receive a certificate, and there's no obligation to have purchased any other type of life insurance with Coughlin, but you will be entitled to that $10,000 in the event of you needing it, your family needing it. We have discounts on tickets, home and auto insurance, and a really good example is I just renewed my home and auto insurance here this month that comes up, and every year I go out and I try and see if I can get a better rate somewhere else, and AGR Insurance here in Alberta, which is with TWI, gave me the best rate. In fact, the closest that another place got was $450 more than what AGR is for my insurance. So I was really happy to stay with them. They do offer great rates. There's different discounts like hotels as well, and and other benefits. We also have an extra savings thing that has been negotiated, or that the PSAC has joined. Many unions belong to it, and because there's such a power behind the number of people that belong to unions and the number of unions that belong to this particular savings program, is that it gives that extra buying power. So again, I encourage you, if you haven't done so already, go to unionsavings.ca and make an account. Say you're a PSAC member, and you'll be entitled to a whole realm of different discounts. And so what you do is you log in, you make your account, and go in, for instance, to fashion and go to one of the stores, check out the different stores there. They might be on your list, and it'll say get union. And then when you're shopping online at that store, it may say like Union 20, which means 20%. As insert promo code here, you insert that, and off your total bill, you would get 20% off. I've been shopping away here and using my union codes, so I encourage you to do so as well. Keep that economy going for Canada. These perks are great, and like I said, because a number of unions are able to come together to negotiate those benefits, it's really exciting. They also have a $10,000 grand prize thing going on. I don't know about the trip for two to Las Vegas, when that's ever going to be open again, but that could be a lot of fun if you happen to win. So log in there, make your account, and it doesn't cost you anything to join, just what you might already be spending or looking for. So thank that. And
Okay, you cut out there. I'm guessing you're sending it over to me, but just so you know, just go to psacunion.ca /benefits if you want to find out what benefits are available to you. All right. So before we close up for the night, we're going to take a few questions, and then we're going to have a poll, and then have some closing remarks. So we'll take some time for some questions. If you're listening on the phone, however, we're not going to leave you out. If you are listening on the phone, you can text your question to Tom, or sorry, to Dolly, and the number is 403-616-5362. That's 403-616-5362, and you can text your question to Dolly. But at this point, we're going to turn it over to Tom. And Tom, have we got questions for Dolly, myself, or Marianne to answer?
Well, honestly, at this point, we have had a number of people type in their questions. I think you have that functionality as a viewer, and we've answered most most of what's come our way. A few of them were, just technical things I can't hear quite well, that sort of thing. But the most recent question that I think is pertinent is how to get a union card. I don't know who of you would like to field that question. But it's from one of our participants.
I could take that one on. So the union cards that you see there that were on the screen, we have tons of those in the office, and we're sending those to the locals all the time. And so the locals get those cards, and what the stewards do is they get people to sign up. So the best way for you to connect in and get one of those cards is to find out who your steward is, because there's likely a card right in your workplace. And if you find your steward, you'll find a card, you'll be able to sign it, and then they can get it sent off to us. They have a return envelope that's free mailing to the PSAC, so there's no issue in sending it. They've got postage on them. If you are in an isolated workplace, however, and you want to give us a call because you're not able to find out who your steward is, we can also send you a card, and then you can send it back to us.
Okay, that's wonderful. Thank you. There was another question, just finding it here, was about online training and whether PSAC offers such a thing and how to access it. If either of you want to take that one, thank you.
I think I can take that one. Or Lindsay, do you know about the online training?
Go ahead, Dolly. I know we do offer it.
Oh,
there's Marianne.
There's Marianne. I was looking for you,
Yay.
Marianne. Marianne, do you want to talk about the online training?
Yeah, actually,
Yeah, that would
sorry,
be great.
my camera is still a bit screwed up. So it just so happens that as a member of the Alliance Executive Committee, I am the co-chair of the National Education Committee of the National Board of Directors. And we just had this conversation. So we did have some online training. I believe the platform, you know, like the software in the background was basically obsolete. We had been working on a whole suite of online training, and it was kind of in the works. We've now stepped that up, and we're hopeful. We're going to do a pilot on the initial one, but we're hopeful to be able to release at least a couple of them in, you know, in the next month or so, like hopefully before summer, if it goes. And what I would say is that if you do take the course, an online course, I would love to hear your feedback, because it's one thing for me to do the pilot and to go through it. I've kind of like an old dog who's been around a while, and sometimes a fresh set of eyes. You know, is it good? Is there something we can improve on? Because we know that going forward, there's going to be a lot more requests for that. So it definitely is coming, and it's now been made a priority to basically bump it up the ladder. That's my answer.
Good stuff.
Thank you, Marianne.
Okay,
Tom?
that's great. It's just, yeah, Tom in the background here again. A couple of interesting questions. One I hadn't anticipated. Have pets, I guess that is, you know, pet animals, been considered to be added as dependents in the collective agreement? If yes, what was the determination of this suggestion?
Marianne?
I was waiting to see if it was
If it were up to me, they'd
if
be
that was,
in.
yeah. Well, I don't know, like the video is horrible, but if you see like an orange blur like flying behind me, it's my new cat who thinks he's a mountain lion and will jump on the curtain. So I don't know if you'll see him, it'll be a blur. So on the addition of pets, I know the issue has been raised over the years. The process that we use for bargaining, and I'm talking Treasury Board and large agencies, is that, you know, every local is able to send in demands. Then the component gathers all the demands from all the different locals, and sometimes we say, okay, you can submit 25. Just because to have 2,000 demands to go through is difficult. I know it has been on the table before. I don't know if it's ever made it to the final package. And frankly, having spent many days at the bargaining table, at a variety of bargaining tables, you know, considering what they say no to, I would suggest they're not likely to be open to it at the moment, but I would encourage you to make sure when the bargaining demands, when it's open for demands, that you put it in. You never know.
Thanks, Marianne. We'll have to take, we're getting sort of backed up here. We've got a number of questions. We won't be able to get to all of them at this point. But if we can maybe do some quick ones. You have stated 15 components and 17 components. How many are there? 17 or 15?
No, as we mentioned earlier, there's 15. The two merged and brought us to 15.
Thank you. That's what I understood. Somebody asking, is there specialized training or resources specifically for new stewards? Maybe Dawn?
Yeah, I can talk about that. Yes, absolutely. What we recommend is that everybody, whether you want to be a steward or not, at least come and take the Talking Union Basics course. It's a 2-day course. You learn, this is just like a tiny pinch of that. You learn about the union, and then you're able to move on to all of our training. And one of the starting courses is grievance handling. So as you go through, you build on what you've learned before. We believe in popular education, that everybody comes with experience to the table, and you build on that experience by learning with others who are also interested in becoming union stewards and active in the union. So yes, we have specialized training, we have the basics, and then we have advanced representation skills training, which not only talks about and trains you in terms of how to word a grievance, how to interpret the collective agreement, what to do, how to present a grievance. It does the advanced stuff. So we actually help you build the skills that you need so that you can face off with management and have the ability to stand up to them and know that when you're in the workplace and you're a steward, you are equal to that manager that you're facing. You are no longer the employee, you are the workplace representative. So it's really great training. I recommend that everybody come and take it. We have everything from stewards training to leadership training. So please come out and take some of our courses.
Okay, Dolly, thanks very much again. It's Tom here. I will sort of say, hey, we've got a couple left. Hopefully, one of them is a very long question, and it will probably require a bit of a long answer. The other one, maybe a little bit easier. Maybe Lindsay, why would your union dues fluctuate in price?
Well, at each convention, every triennial convention, what happens is priorities may change. Maybe they want to add, for example, more training, for example, or there might be other reasons because dues, they'll fluctuate. And like PSAC dues actually before were actually 0.966 something or whatever, and they actually went down, whereas the components can go up. But it all depends on priorities and what's happening. Maybe they want to have a few more seats at a convention, or there's different reasons as to why. Am I missing anything, Marianne?
Yeah, well, I guess a couple other things would happen. So if you were due a wage increment at work, so, you know, at 1 year when you move up a step, if you have that in your collective agreement, that will change your union dues. If your local made a decision to increase or decrease their local dues, that can be done at an annual general meeting. That will do it. If you were under Phoenix, it's most likely Phoenix. And, you know, it's pretty much been stabilized. But initially when Phoenix was implemented, we did not have the capacity to share information with the employer. So normally what happens is, so you become a new employee, Treasury Board or Canada Revenue Agency or whatever sends us a file and says this person is a new employee and they're AS2. We look it up and say, okay, they belong to this local and this is how much the local's charging, the components charging in PSAC. We tell Treasury Board you need to collect $67.42 a month. We didn't have that ability. So things were totally screwed up for a while. Some people were just paying a base fee of $40 and then that had to get caught up. If it's significant fluctuations, then you may want to check with your local or your component. So.
Okay, that's wonderful. I'm going to suggest that that we take one more question. It's this kind of interesting question, fairly long, that could it could actually be answered with a yes or a no, or it could be a long answer. I'll read the question. As the health advisories are lifting, an employee takes vacation within Canada, and because there's no mandatory isolation between provinces.
I think I lost everybody. There he is.
Because there's no mandatory isolation between provinces, they plan on going back to work upon their return. Then they get notice that someone on their flight had COVID-19 and everyone on the plane has to self-isolate regardless of symptoms. And the question is, does that leave come out of the employee's leave entitlements?
It's an interesting question.
Yeah, it's a bit of a
yeah, it's not completely a yes or no. So first of all, it depends who the employer is, whether it's, you know, you are federal government or agency, if you're under Treasury Board policy, because, you know, this would be different for Casino Regina members versus, you know, Canada Revenue Agency. If you are under Treasury Board, then my belief at this point is that it would be covered by 699 leave, because you have to self-isolate, and that's one of the situations that are presumed in the National Treasury Board policy. If the question, I'm not sure, I don't recognize the name, and that's a good thing because that means we have new people, then I think you need to check with your local just to see if they have a policy. And if that doesn't answer and you need more, I would suggest contact your nearest regional office, and then we can sort it out once we have those extra details.
Okay, and that's terrific. Yeah, for anybody on the call, I mean, if you need to or feel you could be helped by calling the office, Calgary Regional Office, you're more than welcome to do that if you're in our area. Otherwise, I'll give it back to the presenters for any final last words. Thank you.
I see that one question here that I thought was interesting, and that is finding out what local you're in. And so I think it's important. One of the ways you can find out your local is, again, to go to a union bulletin board, but also you can tell what component you're in, for the most part, if you work for the federal government, just by department. So you'll notice, like the example I initially gave was Union of National Defense Employees are part of the Union of National Defense, etc. So the components kind of match up with the departments, and the other employers, or what we call separate employers, they're a little harder to pinpoint, but generally somebody you work with will know what component you belong to. And if else fails, you can always give us a call. We can look you up and tell you exactly what local you belong to.
We have the ability as well at the end of this webinar, we can pull off all the questions, and if there's anything that wasn't answered, we can direct them to your regional office and have someone contact you and get in touch with you. As long as we know who you are or how to get in touch with you, we'll do that probably sometime tomorrow. We'll start going through any questions, see if there's anything we didn't answer. Dolly?
Yeah, I don't have anything else. I just want to thank everybody for attending and taking time out of your evening. I know that you all work all week, or sometimes some people work shift work or weekends, and we really appreciate the great turnout that we had tonight. There was over 100 people registered for the webinar, and we're absolutely ecstatic to have at least, based on the poll, half of you were brand new people too. So welcome to the union, and I look forward to meeting some of you perhaps in a tub course in your future. Marianne, closing comments?
Sure, I always take the opportunity for a closing comment. No, I wanna thank Lindsay and Dolly and Tom in the background, and the others that are in the background kind of answering some of the questions. I think the prairies, we have gotten it down to a science on the weekly webinars. Next week, Lindsay announced what the topic is next week. I think it will be a very important topic, but you can also go back and watch previous recordings. We record all of these webinars because we know that, you know, people are either working or, you know, it's supper time and you're with the kids, or, you know, you're just not able to be on live. So they are all recorded, and you can go onto the Prairie's website and download them. I just want to say, for those that are on that maybe new members, you know, this is kind of your first little introduction to the intricacies. If you have questions, if you want to know things, we will answer all those questions. The one thing that we honestly believe with PSAC is we are democratic. you have an opportunity to participate in whatever speaks to your heart. If if you're passionate about women's issues and childcare and domestic violence, and you want to work with a women's committee, you can do that. If you are, if human rights issues or Indigenous issues, if that's your passion, there's a place for you. If you want to be political and you want to lobby for a better community and a better workplace, there's a place for you at the area council. Everything we do is guided by the direction of members. And as Dolly mentioned, the Prairies Convention was scheduled for June of 2020. The National Board of Directors, we have postponed all regional conventions for a year. And so the convention will be June 26th to 28th, I believe, Friday to Sunday, 2021 in Regina. And there'll be more information about how that process is working and, with the shift. But that is a place where members get to have a voice. And so I want to say to you, whether, we agree or disagree, we can never stop talking. So thank you for taking the time to be on tonight, and hopefully look forward to seeing many of you next week again. Thank you. Have a great evening.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Have a nice night.